The man that is joining us is the outright GOAT in everybody's eyes at his profession. Ladies and gentlemen, the head coach of the Alabama football team, Nick Saban.
Yeah, coach!
How we doing, guys?
Hey, not as good as you look right now. How are we doing? Big win on the road in the SEC. What did you learn about your team this past weekend, Coach? That's got to make you feel good in a rompous environment to get a big dub like that.
Yeah, they showed a little resiliency. We didn't start out great in the game, but I liked the way we progressed during the game and kept grinding, controlled the line of scrimmage, played pretty decent in spots on defense. So got a bigger challenge this week. So it's always that way when you're playing in the SEC, especially when you're playing on the road.
I heard Kirby Smart talk about that this morning or yesterday, where he said, like, the depth of the SEC is getting questioned kind of this year more than it ever has in the past. But everybody that's in the SEC understands that from top to bottom, the league is stacked. Why do you think the narrative nationwide is kind of pivoting a little bit, you think, Coach?
Well, I think that it's actually a little easier if you have, I'm going to say, an average team. Because you have another way and another resource to bring players to your team. So, if you have an average team, it's easier to get better faster because you have a transfer portal, almost like free agency in the NFL, where before you had to build your team from the bottom up with freshmen. So young guys coming in the program, which might have taken them 2 or 3 years to mature. And you still have the opportunity to recruit some good young players, so they also can contribute. So I just think that the transfer portal it offers an opportunity for people to improve more quickly.
Yeah, I think it's happening everywhere, but I do like the fact that the SEC has heard what people have been saying about everywhere else. It's like, why don't you come in the SEC? What you guys are, everybody, why don't you come try life down here in the SEC? It'll always be respected. Go ahead, AJ Hawk.
Coach, you guys have A&M this weekend, and I'm just curious, the opportunity your offense has. That we know their defense. I hear a lot about their front seven and how they can get pressure. They stop the run, all of this stuff. How big of an opportunity is it for your offense, your offensive line, to kind of test themselves against a high-caliber team like this?
Well, I certainly think this will be a great test for them because they do have really, really good down guys. They've got lots of depth. They play a lot of guys. They got some really significant rushers. But these guys are really good at striking blocks up front, getting off people. They have a really good scheme on defense, so they do a lot of stunting, moving, pressuring you, create negative plays. A good third down package where they're going to put 6 guys up there in the box and play man-to-man and put pressure on a quarterback. So this will be a challenge for our entire offensive team, but especially the offensive line, because I think if you can control the line of scrimmage, at least you can stay balanced and try to stay ahead of the sticks. When I grade a game, it's 1st and 10. Did we make it 2nd and 6 or less? Did we get it 3rd and 4 or less? So that you don't have negative plays. Those negative plays create drive stoppers, and that's what they've been really, really good at.
Staying on schedule is vital to any success in football, but let's talk about the schedule for Milroe. Last year, I believe his first game was against Texas A&M, threw for 3 touchdowns. I think he also rushed for another 80. I think he's from the area potentially, so it's a little bit of a homecoming. Now you've seen him have a big-time win on the road. You've seen what happened earlier in the season. Where are we in the Milroe development, and where are we in the offense being shaped around him as your quarterback, Coach?
Now, I think we've had to make some subtle changes to feature things that he can do, which I think he's responded to very well, and I think our entire offense has responded to well. I do think he's getting more and more comfortable and confident in the passing game, anticipating things, getting the ball out of his hand a little quicker. And, of course, his ability and his athleticism to, create plays is really a tremendous asset and puts a lot of pressure on the defense. So I'm happy with the progress that we made, not satisfied with where we can and want to be. But every day that we look at the film on Monday, and I tell the players this all the time, most of the time it's what we didn't do, not necessarily what the other team did in terms of what is, stopping us from getting better and better.
Chuck Pagano used to call them self-inflicted negatives. Sins. Can't have them. Got to have more God. Tone has a question for you.
Coach, when we were in Alabama for the Texas game, we were kind of asking everybody on your sideline before the game, like what we needed to know. And everyone kept saying that you guys have this stud freshman safety, Caleb Downs, who basically you should just start fitting a gold jacket for now is how they were talking about him. How do you now? You've had a lot of stud freshmen. How do you treat them any differently when they're coming in like that, based on what you know they are and their potential future? And how awesome has he been for you? I believe he had 13 tackles last week and an interception.
Yeah, he's played really, really well for us, but this guy is very mature beyond his years. He doesn't play like a freshman. He doesn't prepare like a freshman. Kind of understands what it takes to be able to play well in the game. He's very conscientious. And, guys that come in, with that kind of mindset, they learn and they play quicker. And a lot of the guys that are really, really good players in high school, they've never really exposed themselves to that kind of attention to detail because they've been better than everybody else without having to pay attention to detail and do the little things right. And that's one of the things that his maturity has allowed him to do, and he's played really, really well for us.
Josh Chapman, good friend of mine whenever he was with the Colts. I believe he's with your staff now. And if I was you, I would love having that human around at all times as well. I mean, as soon as he left our locker room, our entire team felt it. And I was talking to him before the game, and in that deep voice, he said, "We got a Hall of Famer playing safety right now." And he was the one that kind of started that conversation. And I was like, who? He's like, this boy. He like the way he talked about him from Josh Chapman, who's been around everybody in Alabama and has seen such great football. It was a cool thing to pay attention to. But your point there about taking attention to detail and taking coaching and everything like that, it has been highlighted by an interview, I do believe, from
Terrian Arnold.
Terrian Arnold, obviously, a guy on your team. I don't know if you've seen this video yet, but this is maybe the biggest compliment to you, and I think a lot of players saw this, biggest compliment to you. The amount of respect that your players have for you was on display from Terrian here.
I actually was jogging off the field. I'm like, dang, boy, he looked mad. Boy, he finna give it to somebody. And then I'm like, oh, it's me. Like, when he was saying that, he was telling me to time up the blitz on the motion. And I know y'all seen, like, how many times do I have to tell you? You know the word. But, like, when he said that, it was kind of like one of those things that you just have to not hear how he's saying it, but you have to hear what he's saying. And, it's another thing when you look at it as far as never knowing when the camera's on you and being coachable. And I feel like the relationship that I have with him, he knows that I can take coaching like that, and it's hard coaching. And when you choose to come here, you never know when he could chew you out. And like people always say, you should be worried when he's not saying something.
Yeah, and I think that's beautiful to hear from your player. I assume you take that as a compliment. Miss Terry said she needs to see a little bit more of that, too, I heard from you afterwards. But when you hear your players talk like that, how does that make you feel, and what are your thoughts on coaching as a whole?
Well, I think that, I want each and every player on our team to reach their full potential and be the very best player they can be. That's what creates value for their future. That's what creates value for our team. And, that's always, the goal here. And I tell the players all the time, you got to be it before you can become it. So you got to create the right habits. You got to put in the work. You got to take the coaching. You got to learn from your mistakes. And then you can become the kind of player that you really want to be. But you got to be it first. It doesn't happen the other way around. And, I grew up with a lot of tough love. My dad was great. And if you didn't do it right, you had to do it again. And he always confronted and demanded that you do things the right way. And I do that a lot with the players. But I think the players understand that. And I think if the players know you care about them, that they're okay with that. I don't think any player cares what you know until he knows that you care. So I care about our players. I want them to be successful personally, academically, and athletically so they create value for their future. And but at times, I got to admit, I coach them hard, but most get used to it. And I tell them, I say, look, when we play just like this week, we're going to play at Texas A&M. There's going to be 105,000 people trying to get in the middle of your stuff. You can't take me getting in the middle of your stuff. We got a problem.
That's funny to think about. But do you know, like, the guys that will be able to take it whenever you're recruiting? Like, I assume not only getting the right players, because everybody talks about how many 5-stars you get. Like, it's a factory. Well, that doesn't just happen overnight, okay? Like, that is something that is earned and happens over a long period of time. You don't just start getting every 5-star to come. But I assume at this stage, you're wondering about the mental makeup while you're recruiting people so you know if they can handle your coaching style and your building?
Yeah, I do, but I also think that we try to do a good job of, you don't coach everybody the same. Some guys are obsessive compulsive, they're perfectionists, they want to get it right. So you coach that guy a lot different because when you get on him, sometimes that's not to his benefit or to our benefit. So it just depends on the player. It depends on the personality, the makeup. And, those kind of guys are easy to see that these guys are driven to be good. So now you just want to teach them because they got the right stuff. They're trying to do everything they need to do to be the best they can be. Other guys, sometimes you got to, make a point that this is what you need to be doing. And is this behavior helping you accomplish the goals that you have as a player? It becomes a matter of priority. We all have priority. But a single-minded purpose in what your priority is as a football player and how you develop is really important to you improving and becoming what you're capable of being.
Coach, I love when you start going, dude. We appreciate you doing it. AJ has a question for you.
Coach, when you get a win now at this point in your career, is there more relief or excitement and happiness from a win? Because it looks like in college it's always on to the next one. I'm calling recruits from the locker room. Like it's always something coming up next. Are you able to enjoy the wins at all, at least for 10, 15 minutes maybe?
I enjoy the wins. I enjoy the wins mostly because I enjoy the wins for the players. The players work hard. People don't realize what they put in Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, how they prepare for the game, how much it means to them. From a fan's perspective, sometimes they think, when you don't have success, that it bothers them more than it does anybody else. Well, the fact of the matter is it bothers the players more than anybody else, and probably the coaches and me. But I'm also really, really happy and excited when I see our players happy and excited, and they're getting positive gratification for their hard work, what they put into it, all year long. So that's the happy part for me. But we have a 24-hour rule around here. You probably heard about it before, that you enjoy the win for 24 hours. If you don't have success, you commiserate for 24 hours, but then, we got to reset and get ready for the next game.
Yeah. Those miserable 24 hours, though, seem to linger sometimes, especially if you miss a kick or two. Whoa. Buddy, those were tough couple of days, years, lifetime. Connor has a question for you, Coach.
Yeah, Coach, obviously anytime you're playing an SEC team, it's a big game. And, I know people on the internet are pretty pumped about that Tennessee binder on the left side of your desk. Just an FYI, people are talking about that. But with Texas A&M, is there kind of like a new budding rivalry between the two schools, especially after everything that happened last year, or is this kind of just same old, let's go out, get a win, and get the hell home?
No, I think, rivalries come from other teams being good. LSU has always been really, really good. So that's all that became a big game. It wasn't really a natural rivalry. And I think Texas A&M is kind of the same way. They're really, really good. They got a really good team this year. Every year we played them, this has kind of been a pivotal game for them and for us. So I think the importance of the game depends on how you define rivalry, I guess. But the importance of the game gets escalated because they have a really good team, and I think we have a really good team. So it's going to be two good teams playing, and we got to do it on the road in some tough environment. But I think that's a challenge that most players really like. That's why they come to a place like this, to playing games like this.
You know that coach at all? I think you know their coach a little bit, too. That's probably another reason why they talk about it being a rivalry, if I had to guess.
He's a good coach. He's a good guy. We come from the same part of West Virginia. I've known him for a long, long time. He's done an outstanding job there, and I respect him as an offensive coach about as much as anybody we play against.
I saw him eat wings at this national championship a couple of years ago. This guy took these wings. I've never seen somebody delete wings like Jimbo. It was less than, 12 inches away from me. We're sitting on opposite side of the table. It was my first time meeting him. He sits down with this thing of wings, and I had the wings as well. It's like the only option. And he depleted this plate faster than anything I've ever heard or seen. I mean, this guy eating these wings was like a vacuum right across while having a full conversation with me, and then he was out. And that's the only time I've ever seen him. So I love anytime two West Virginia guys can go take over the world, and I assume you can demolish some wings as well. Ty has a question for you, Coach.
Coach, Pat mentioned it a little bit earlier, how, Miss Terry said, hey, if these guys aren't playing well, you need to get on their butt a little bit. And I know you said after the game that I think it was the first game she wasn't in attendance since you got to Alabama. Now, I'm sure it isn't the kind of thing where before the game, you're thinking about that like, oh, my God, she's not here. What am I going to do? But was it awkward or weird at all knowing that she wasn't there? And then last week you told us, hey, I really didn't do a whole lot this week besides football-related stuff. So I'm just curious, when you're with her, is it ball all the time? Is that what you guys are talking about when you get home, or how does that work out?
No, it's not ball all the time. We're regular old people that have regular old problems. Dogs die, kids have grandkids have problems. We're just like everybody else, so we have a lot to talk about. But I will say this: she is really, really supportive of me and what I do, our job. She's on top of it. I think when we met in high school, she was the drum majorette at a different school than I went to. I didn't think she really knew what a first down was, but she knows the game really well. She knows a lot of the players, and she sometimes has pretty good insight on things that I need to do and not do. And she has made me better through the years in a lot of ways. When I first started being the head coach at Michigan State, the media acted like I was the Till of the Hun. And I used to come home and say, everybody's killing me, but I don't really understand why. And she said, would you ever watch yourself? You're anxious, you're nervous, you don't treat them with any respect. You're so serious, you never smile. If you do some of those things, maybe they'll treat you better. So it made me mad at first, but I started to do it and things got better.
It's amazing how that works out. Yeah, the information immediately received, don't want to hear it. But then over time, it's great. You talking about her, the way that you talk about her, is beautiful. It is a truly beautiful thing. And you guys being high school sweethearts?
Whoa.
Come on. That's a beautiful thing. Now, last question. Is she going to be there this week?
Yeah.
And last time you played there, right, you end up losing. Do you remind the boys that whenever you're getting ready and motivated for this week, or how do you treat that?
Well, I don't really, I don't think these guys relate historically very well to things. I think that they want to play and do well for our team, this team, and they have a lot of respect for the team that we're playing. So there's a lot for them to gain by going out there, preparing well, playing well in the game, and so I don't really do that. I try to prepare them for what we're going to get into. It's going to be a tough environment, a lot of noise. Got to practice that today so that we can stay focused on what's happening on the field and not let all the external factors of what's happening around us influence or affect our play. I just met with Jalen, and I told him the same thing. I said, just because you're going back to Texas, that doesn't mean you got to do something different. You just got to play your game fundamentally, do what you're supposed to do so that it gives you the best chance to be successful.
We talked last week about the cowbells, and you said noise is noise. And I didn't ask the follow-up. What is the noise of practice? Are you just playing white noise out there? Are we playing music? What do we got to practice?
I got white noise, man. It's just loud. You can't, nobody can hear anything.
That is the whole time?
Whole time.
Are you wearing ear things, or are you taking that as well?
No, I'm still coaching. I just have to get a little closer to them so they can hear what I'm saying.
I love it. I love it. That's why you go into Mississippi State and do your thing. And obviously this weekend, big one in Texas A&M. We can't thank you enough, Coach, for joining us. Good luck this week. We'll chat with you next week. And please tell Miss Terry we appreciate everything about you guys.
All right. Well, I got a little present here for you.
What?
Because we have a tremendous amount of respect for you. This show's been great for us, so we're going to send you this Alabama shirt with your number on it.
I'm on Bama.
Yeah.
I'm on Bama.
Wow.
I got recruited. Is that a scholarship too? What to say? That's a scholarship. I got a scholarship to Bama.
Yep.
Coach.
Is that all you want is a scholarship? I mean, you don't want any name, image, and likeness deal to go with it?
Yeah, I want 5,000 to come visit next time I come. No photo shoots either. I'm not doing any. I need you. But I appreciate that, Coach. Thank you. Alabama's been incredibly hospitable to us. You've been amazing for us. Like, we can't tell you how big of an honor it is to get to chat with you. So I appreciate you guys looking out for us, and let's enjoy the hell out of the rest of this year.
Yeah, we will. But I want you guys to know something. I enjoy this, too, because you guys are all football people. And you ask football-related questions because you've all played, you've all been there, you've all done that. So I appreciate that, and it's fun for me. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, we hope you'll say that for the rest of the year. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, Coach Nick Saban, thank you, buddy.
Yeah, Coach!
What a stud.
I got recruited to Bama and West Virginia.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Congrats.
I'm a Bama, dude.
2 full ride
There you are.
scholarships.
I'm a Bama.
Yeah, roll tide, baby.
Elephant up here, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, why not?
It's in your heart now. You don't need one.
I will say, West Virginia and Bama have the same record right now. So let's just keep that in mind.
Yep.